On June 8, 793 AD, Norse raiders descended on the monastery of Lindisfarne, a holy island off the northeast coast of England. The monks had no warning and no defense. The Vikings smashed through the doors of the church, stripped the altars of gold and silver, slaughtered those who resisted, and dragged the rest away as slaves. They loaded their longships with plunder and vanished across the sea before any army could respond. The scholar Alcuin, writing from the court of Charlemagne, lamented that never before had such terror appeared in Britain. The Viking Age had begun, and for the next 3 centuries, the Norsemen would terrorize, trade, and transform the world from the shores of North America to the gates of Constantinople. The Vikings came from Scandinavia, the harsh lands of modern-day Norway, Sweden, and Denmark, where long winters, thin soil, and rugged coastlines made farming a constant struggle. They were a seafaring people who had perfected the art of shipbuilding over generations. The Viking longship was a masterpiece of engineering, shallow enough to navigate rivers, light enough to be carried overland between waterways, and tough enough to cross the open Atlantic. Its overlapping oak planks were flexible enough to ride ocean swells instead of fighting them, and its square woolen sail could propel it at speeds exceeding 10 knots. No other vessel of the age could match it. The raids intensified throughout the 9th century. Viking fleets attacked the coasts of England, Ireland, Scotland, France, and Spain, striking with terrifying speed and withdrawing before defenders could organize. They sailed up the Seine and besieged Paris in 845, extracting 7,000 pounds of silver as ransom. They raided Seville in Muslim Spain and sailed into the Mediterranean. They attacked monasteries and trading towns with particular ferocity because these were the richest targets, and the monks and merchants who inhabited them were the least prepared to fight. The word Viking itself may derive from the Old Norse word vik, meaning inlet or bay, the coastal waters from which they launched their attacks. But the Vikings were far more than raiders. They were also traders, explorers, and settlers who built some of the most extensive trade networks of the medieval world. Swedish Vikings, known as the Varangians, traveled east along the rivers of Russia, portaging their ships between waterways until they reached the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea. They traded furs, amber, and slaves for Byzantine silk, Arab silver, and Chinese goods. They founded the trading cities of Novgorod and Kiev, laying the foundations of what would become Russia. Some entered the service of the Byzantine emperor in Constantinople as the elite Varangian Guard, the most feared and best-paid soldiers in the medieval world. Norwegian Vikings sailed west into the unknown. They colonized Iceland around 870, establishing a society governed by the Althing, one of the oldest parliaments in the world. From Iceland, Eric the Red discovered and settled Greenland around 985, establishing Norse colonies that survived for nearly 5 centuries on the frozen western edge of the habitable world. And around the year 1000, Eric's son Leif Erikson sailed even further west and landed on the coast of North America, which the Norse called Vinland, becoming the first Europeans to reach the Americas, nearly 500 years before Columbus. The Viking impact on the lands they invaded was permanent. In England, the Danes conquered and settled the eastern half of the country in an area known as the Danelaw, introducing Norse words that survive in modern English to this day, words like sky, egg, window, husband, and law. In France, a Viking chieftain named Rollo was granted a large territory by the desperate French king in 911, and his descendants became the Normans, the Northmen, who would conquer England in 1066 under William the Conqueror. In Ireland, the Vikings founded Dublin, Waterford, and Limerick as trading ports. Everywhere they went, they left a genetic, linguistic, and cultural footprint that endures 1,000 years later. The Viking Age gradually ended in the 11th century as the Scandinavian kingdoms converted to Christianity, centralized their governments, and joined the broader European community. The last great Viking king, Harald Hardrada of Norway, was killed at the Battle of Stamford Bridge in England in 1066, just 3 weeks before William the Conqueror's Norman invasion. The age of the raiders was over, but the world they had shaped would was unrecognizable from the one they had found. A people from the frozen margins of Europe had sailed to 4 continents, founded kingdoms and trading empires, discovered new worlds, and left a legacy that stretches from the English language to the Russian state to the very name of a continent that would not be fully explored for another 500 years.